Hello.
Hello! Happy holiday week. Yay!
Yay!
Do you have snow on your special effects
Yes,
for
I
us?
do. Should I? Should I?
Let's have a little snow while we check in. Deborah has beat us to the punch. Merry Christmas, Deborah! Woohoo! And there's their second snow of the season.
Yeah.
Now we got some powder going on. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Welcome, Deborah, and welcome everybody else that's slowly signing on, all of our regular guests. We appreciate you. And
You know we're up to 75 subscribers on YouTube.
that's not bad for a little teaspoon show like us.
Mm-mm.
That's not bad at all. Very cool. That means we've got a lot of people checking in with us.
Yeah.
Nice. Yay. Thank you. Welcome to any new subscribers or just new viewers. And we can know you're there if you type in the chat. Just say hello. Type in hi, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Festivus for the rest of us. Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or whatever's good for you. We're good with that too. And let us know you're there. It's the best way for us to know. We do show up on YouTube and we show up on Facebook. If you type in the comments or in the chat, that's where we'll see you. However, other people on YouTube won't see Facebook comments. Facebook commenters won't see YouTube. So feel free to be patient with us while we read out the comments that people sometimes do post and that we encourage so that both platforms can experience it. If you have not seen us, if you are new to the show, you can see our credentials in the prequel, the first episode of Eyes of Indigo on YouTube. Search Eyes of Indigo and click on the picture of Iris Carter. And you will find all of the Eyes of Indigo there, all the way back to the first one back in September of 2020. So, Iris, where else shall we go tonight?
Tonight, let me move that and get back over here. Show this. And tonight is holiday films. Oh, that looks pretty with the snow on it, doesn't it?
It does.
Holiday films, subtle reveals. What are the hidden gems in holiday entertainment? What messages are we supposed to receive? We'll look at what reveals are and what some of our favorite programs are hiding. Yeah. So,
we found a plethora.
Yeah, and so when we talk about reveals, which we've mentioned before, and we did a show on a long time ago, but I thought you might want to explain what a reveal is.
Excellent place to start. In the context of what we're talking about, in this case, revealing movies or movie reveals. This also applies to television reveals and media like that, entertainment media, mostly movies and television, sometimes songs. What we're talking about is, oh boy, I just realized I stepped into a great big giant rabbit hole. We need a little more backstory to make this make sense. All right. Go with me, folks, a little bit out there into the cosmos. This is bigger than just this planet. Matter of fact, everything we do is bigger than just this planet. And this ties into that. Just take my word for it. Feel free to do the research if you want to look into this. But the basic cosmic law across the whole universe is if you want to influence a culture, this is a condensed version of the prime directive. When species run into each other, the more advanced species is not allowed to influence the less developed species unless two things. The less developed species gives you permission to interfere in their development, and you have to show them what you are going to do before you do it to them so that they can give permission to do it. All right. So you can't do anything without their permission. They have to invite you to do it, to participate or interfere. And you got to show them what you're going to do so that they can give you permission or decline before you interfere or participate. We are going on the premise that for this conversation and for all of human history, for the several thousand, hundreds of thousands of years, we're going on the premise that that the human race has been interfered with by a selfish, self-motivated species that was not human, is not human. And let's just call them entities. Those entities, those beings have designed humans pretty much to do their dirty work, who in theory are now CEOs and major media moguls that exist and control all information platforms everywhere on the planet and have done so for hundreds of years. Books, television, radio, film, internet, every type of media that's ever existed, newspapers, magazines, everything. And the term reveal ties into this in that they have to reveal their interfering or their doings with humans and in a way that we will agree to it so that they can continue, even though what they're doing is considered nefarious or negative or selfish on their part. We referred to them as selfish. They are very in service to self by energetic design. So, again, I am way summarizing and cleaning this up and making it much nicer and
Palatable.
and palatable. Yeah, for the sake of not making things too crazy right off the bat. So reveals have
We're
to happen.
already there.
Well, that's true. We're halfway there anyway. Thank you very much. Absolutely, champion the cause here. So reveals are, in this context, you can see where I kind of went and where I'm at now. Reveals are the process of baby stepping, chumming the waters, sprinkling the bits of information to reveal to humans what they are going to do to us or what they're about to do to us in a way that shows us what they're going to do, but doesn't quite put us off of it so that we reject it and therefore they can't do it because of cosmic law. We have to cooperate. They found out that if you show us humans something and tell them, oh, it's just entertainment, it's just for fun, go enjoy the sarcasm and the irony and the magical folklore and mysticism and mythological elements of what we're showing you. You don't have to believe in it, just go enjoy it. The second humans go and enjoy it, say, oh, this is cool, I want to see it again. Ooh, I like Santa Claus. Ooh, I like Greek mythology. Ooh, I like this history thing and that history thing that was fabricated. Those are ways of saying, yes, I agree to this. I accept this as a part of my culture.
We're complacent.
We're complacent. No answer means yes. You have to actively resist to get something to stop. If you do nothing or if you participate without resisting, that's a yes. Okay, think of it as like sex, yeses and nos. You either say no and stop participating, or you say nothing and keep participating, or you say yes and you keep participating. Yeah, participating means yes, either way. So that's how they procure permission. That's how they show us what they're going to do and procure our permission to keep doing it. In movies and media that show us these things are always subtle. They're very creative. They're usually some kind of historical reference that has circular reasoning that comes back on itself, but that's a whole in-depth thing. And we found reveals hidden in holiday films and holiday symbolism and holiday stuff left and right that has, Iris, shall we call it a dark side, a nefarious side, a
Yeah,
Krampus,
yeah, yeah.
Grinchy side to it?
And I think too, also remember that in order to keep us in a position where we'll remain complacent,
Maintenance of that, yeah.
yeah, then we are essentially slaves.
Yes.
Slaves for demand. Like,
We are.
You
Making
know,
them almighty dollar just to hand it back over to the tax collector who gives it to the man. Right.
yeah. I mean, it's just this vicious cycle. And so one thing that like a lot of Christmas movies do is they
Candy
present
coat that.
they candy coat it and present what the dream is about Christmas and be
Inspire you to
happy.
keep doing it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so there's I do have some funnies. I want to show y'all the ones
To
that
live a wonderful life. Oh, it's a wonderful life. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Even the titles are giveaways. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These are good for what is happening now. They reflect on current
Events.
events. The elf is talking to Santa, who has a hazmat mask
Suit.
on,
Mm.
and he says, "Visiting." The elf is talking to Santa and says, "Visiting every house on Earth in one night. Face it, Santa, you're a super spreader waiting to happen. Wear the suit, or there is no Christmas."
Wear the hazmat or we have no Christmas.
Yeah. And then this parents are standing in front of the fireplace with the little table, and the kids are kind of standing with their, just kind of looking, and
The Christmas,
tree and all's there. And the husband saying, "I kid you not. Instead of cookies and milk for Santa, they put out a mask and hand sanitizer."
And Mom's sitting there with her lips pursed, looking concerned.
Yes.
For sure.
And then on that note, Mrs. Claus sees Santa come in the door. "You look exhausted." "I spent half the night rushing back to the sleigh because I kept forgetting my mask."
We all know that one.
Yes, yes. And this one, Santa has a red velvet rope in front of him. Kid's standing about 6 feet back, and
away.
he's reading his note, and he's got a mask on. And Santa's got a mask that says "ho, ho, ho" on it. And the kid's reading, "A new bike, a remote control helicopter, and if it's not too much to ask, perhaps some semblance of normalcy?" And the woman's at her computer. It's Christmas tree behind her. She says, "COVID is the reverse Grinch. It left all the decorations and presents, but it stole our being together and singing hand in hand." Yeah. So, yeah, I thought those were good.
They are. They are. Thank you for sharing those.
Oh,
They're
sure.
perfect. All kinds of interesting latest moves for that.
Yes, yes. And I've got some others I'll share as we get to. But yeah, so, and I guess, do we want to talk about the Grinch first, or It's a Wonderful Life first? We've mentioned those, both of those.
Yes, let's go with the one. It's a Wonderful Life, since we've already mentioned it once.
Okay. Yeah.
The title of the movie tells you immediately where you're supposed to put your mindset.
Yes.
And where do we go from there?
Yeah, we got to be happy. We got to be,
White
and the now I did see one write up that I thought was funny, that it was like, people were sharing their ideas on different things, and somebody said, well, actually, in It's a Wonderful Life, Mary and the character of Jimmy Stewart, they make a wish at some point, and he tells his wish, but she holds her secret, and everybody knows that secret wishes come true. It's the ones you tell that don't come true. And Mary must have secretly wished that he would stay in that little town instead of getting out and living his dream. And then it's her fault that everything happened that happened. Oh, that was pretty clever. But yeah, so we've got a man who is trying to do right in the town, and there was a run on the bank, and he tried to stop that, and all this stuff, and he just gets so depressed because it's like stuff keeps happening, life happens, but he's extremely depressed, and he goes thinking about jumping off the bridge, and Clarence the angel comes and stops him and shows him what the town would have been like if he hadn't been there, and all the things that happened in his life, and if and what he would have and wouldn't have without it. And so it's that contrast of, yes, your life can be lousy, but you should be appreciative of it because and look for the good things that you've done. And
be grateful for the meager crumbs we throw you.
Yeah.
Is the message.
Yeah. And on one hand, and I don't want to get on a one of the things,
the whole movie's a manipulation.
Yeah. And we do have control in our lives, and our outlook is important. And I think, but you don't need somebody on the outside telling you to appreciate your life, right, and having it shown to you on a screen, and that's where you get your pleasure and your gratification from. Where if you take care of you, the rest falls into place.
Absolutely.
And so, on one hand, it's nice that they can say, oh, look, you were a wonderful person and you did all these things and so many people benefited and you changed people's lives. But if he was really doing what he should have been doing to begin with, he wouldn't have been at the precipice of killing himself. And yeah. So
a whole lot more to that story.
Yeah. And I don't want people going, well, is that what happens to all people who commit suicide, that they didn't do what they were supposed to do? No, mm-hmm. I'm not saying that either. Mm-hmm. And I mean, because hey, I know I've been there. I know what
it's never that simple. We're talking about just this one plot development story.
Yeah, but they're kind of shoving it in your face, and what better time to do it but do it at Christmas, and It's a Wonderful Life, and the cute little girl at the end, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
And the demon gets a pitchfork. That's the other half of the sentence.
That's one of the things I love in Supernatural. There's a demon that interacts with the primary angel on Supernatural, and his name is Castiel, and they call him Cass for short. And he helps the Winchesters in their different adventures and stuff. But at one point, when this demon gets involved, she calls him, or she refers to him as Clarence. And it's from It's a Wonderful Life.
It's from A Wonderful Life, absolutely. Clarence means clarity. Yeah, clear vision. So you can see the tie-in with his name. But it separates us from the concept. The movie separates us intentionally from the concept of you can be grateful for what you have and still design and desire more because you're worthy of more.
Yes.
Wanting more is not ungrateful. This movie teaches the opposite of that.
That's a good, excellent point.
Yeah. No, you're always worth more, and it's okay to want more. And no, you don't have to go to the precipice of dying and suicide to hit that hit those kinds of epiphanies. Yeah. But that's not what they want you to understand. They want their reveal has a different message. Yeah.
And that everybody else is
much more subduing.
Everything is dependent on everybody else. And There's another, maybe I was going to mention that kind of falls in
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
um, kind of concept, and it's I always forget the name of it. It's called no, not that one. Which one is it?
Was it Surviving
The
Christmas?
no, that was a different. Well, that one too, but The Family Man,
The Family
and
Man.
it's got Nicolas Cage and Tia Leone, and it's one of, I really like his acting in it and that sort of stuff. I mean, I thought it was a really good film, and he you learn through the story that he and Tia Leone had dated in college, and they were
Went
going
their
to go
separate
take a trip to
ways.
Europe together, and at the last minute he backed out because he got a job offer, and that because he stayed back and got that job offer, he ended up being single. She went off and did her thing, and he skyrocketed to where he was running this major corporation. And it's New Year's Eve, about 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, and they wrap up a meeting, and everybody goes home, and he's still willing to work, but nobody's there. And he leaves, and when he leaves, he goes to a convenience store before going up to his penthouse apartment, and there's a guy that gets angry at the clerk and all this stuff. And anyway, he ends up, and it's Don Cheadle that's the
The actor.
character, the actor. And so Nicolas Cage and John Cheadle start, Don Cheadle start, end up in this conversation, and uh, Don Cheadle makes a comment, and Nicolas Cage is like, he's like, I'll show you, or something like that, you know. Well, Nicolas Cage, the next thing he knows is he's waking up in bed next to Tia Leone. And they're living in a small house. They have 2 kids. He drives a soccer mom's minivan. And his father-in-law owns a local tire discount place. And he's like on the sales floor. And their life is chaotic. He's going, but I thought you wanted to do this. And I thought, and she said, we had kids. It's life. We just have to deal with it. And he's like, no, we don't. And he goes dashing out the door. And, and she's like, what is your problem? Because he's not acting right. And he goes back to the penthouse, and he's like,
The
it had to have been a
Doorman.
bad dream. Let me in my apartment. How are you doing? He's talking to the doorman. Doorman's going, I don't know. You from Adam? Go away. Are you homeless or what? And Don Cheadle pulls up in that guy's Ferrari that he
His old
had been
Ferrari.
driving. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says, we need to talk. It turns out Don Cheadle is like an angel. And he's saying, you need to take a look at the other side of things. And so that whole movie is him recognizing the value of life without being automated, and he didn't have to be at the top of the heap.
Materialistic.
Yeah. And so that contrast between materialistic and enjoying what you have.
Humanitarian.
So it's not so much as a reveal, but it still throws
Oh,
that
yeah, it
contrast.
is.
Okay. All right.
Multiple timelines.
Oh, duh. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Both movies show you in multiple dimensions, multiple possibilities, multiple timelines simultaneously happening, interchangeable and uninterchangeable or reversible.
Good. Yes. I
Both
totally.
of them. That's okay. Yeah, that's actually where I was going. Many of the movies that we're talking about mention multiple timelines and changes of dimension, but they mention it casually, or they mention it as, this is creative, license only, except for it keeps showing up over and over and over, which means it's a reveal. The fact that they keep showing it over and over indicates it's highly potentially a reveal.
Yeah.
So both Wonderful Life and Family Man show alternate timelines, more than one version, living in a parallel life that is different from the first life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very
That's
good.
one.
And I want to slide into the Grinch because it
Yeah.
reminds me of. I mean, and I know you've got most of the stuff on it, but
No, that's all right. Take your time.
I like to remind people, you know, because it took a while for it to really sink in with me. Most people remember Horton Hears a Who, where the elephant's walking around with the little
Dust speck.
dandelion, yeah, and it's got a dust speck. And people they're trying to they tie his trunk and they're leading him to the boil that dust speck, boil that dust
Well,
speck.
that dust speck. Yeah.
And it's like, and Whoville is on the dust speck that's in the flower that he's carrying around, and he's the only one that seems to be able to hear them. And
Because of
he
his
said,
big ears. Yeah.
yeah. And so they say, so he's like, get everybody in town and yell as loud as you can. And they finally get like little Cindy Lou or whoever, the tiniest
To
kid, and they go,
finally make a noise.
please, please, as you finally make some
We're
noise.
here. We're here. We're here.
Yeah. And so, one voice can save
The world.
the world, basically. And that is Whoville. Okay?
On that dust speck.
Whoville, and so it's on a little tiny dust speck, on a little flower. Okay. That is the world of the Grinch and the people he visits and all that stuff. And it was like, I totally, for a long time, didn't make the connection. But it's the same, and it's like, oh my God,
This is all Whoville again. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
And
Grinch
so-
is a microscopic creature.
Yeah.
Gee, what do we know about microscopic, malicious, tiny things that like to fuck with your head and screw up your life? Kind of germy looking and thinking and designed. Something to think about. Another
Is the name Fauci? No.
the Fauci that stole Christmas. The Fauci that sold Christmas. That's even better.
Sold his soul more like it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know. Didn't mean to go political there.
That's right.
He's just such a squirrely little guy.
He is smarmy. Just even if you don't think anything about this stuff, you listen. When he talks, you can tell it pains him. He's smarmy as you get. I love that word. That's a perfect word. Thank you for bringing it.
Yes.
All right. So the Grinch. Anything else you wanted to mention about that right off the bat?
I think that was my main thing that I thought was really cool. Oh, somebody insinuated that the dog was
symbolic of something.
No, was a Christmas gift that nobody wanted. And that's how the Grinch got him. And then he had an affinity for
that's
the dog.
That's how he got everything.
Yeah,
he lived in the town dump. So yeah, the dog had to be something somebody didn't want.
The dog was a discard. And
the dog was a discard.
And he felt, and that's why he has a connection to the dog, because nobody
it was discarded the way he was. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, a little bit more. The Grinch, if you think about it, is another version of the Christmas Krampus, which we talked about more extensively in the last episode of Eyes of Indigo last week, if you want to see more about that. But the Grinch is definitely a sweetened up, cutie pied up, fluffy, bright green, funsy, not so horrible, scary, fangy, clawsy creature. His claws are now long, furry tendrils in the Grinch. Okay. But he's actually the Krampus. Keep in mind, the Krampus is a demonic child snatching pedophile cannibal.
Yeah.
Right? And they've cleaned him up for a child story. That is all earmarks of a reveal, meaning something in that storyline is real, which is horrible to think about. But reality sometimes sucks on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Now, going forward, if you want to see, there are a ton of very specific reveals couched in the sarcasm of Jim Carrey in the Jim Carrey version of The Grinch, directed by or produced by Ron Howard, the live action version that came out, 10 years ago? There's an
something like that,
animated
yeah.
version that came out later.
I
This is
didn't
not that.
realize he until doing research for this that Ron Howard actually played a role in the film.
Yes, he did cameos. Yeah. And you will hear a lot of innuendo and sarcastic comments that if you rethink the context of the comment, that seems to be ad lib from Jim Carrey when his character is monologuing. You're going to hear reveal after reveal after reveal after reveal of plots, plans, and comments on different kinds of social engineering, social designing, social expectations, such as pushing of materialism and commercialism on society. That is a deep state cabal reveal. That is a construct of theirs to keep us enslaved to the almighty dollar, attaching our self-worth to the quality of money that we spend or receive. And this is an excellent cartoon.
This goes
Irish,
right in here. Yeah.
read it to the audio people for us.
Okay, so the guy's on a ladder outside, hanging Christmas signs on the lights, like light poles, like people have in towns, and it says "Happy Holidays." And somebody walking by says, "I'm sick of all this political correctness. Can we just call it what it is?" And the guy hangs a new sign, and it says, "Happy, make your kids into greedy little materialistic consumption addicts day." Is that better?
Is that better? I love that one because that's ding right on.
Yes.
Right on the nose. Right on the nose. Speaking of right on the nose, you had some commentary about and so did I, about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh my goodness! Yes,
Let's go down that slippery slope.
Yes, that one. This is not my theory. It was in doing
credit where credit's due.
Yeah, but the theory with Rudolph was that, oh shoot, if I can find it. I had it in front
Salacious.
of me.
It's just salacious.
Oh no, the idea.
Give some 75-cent words in here.
Yeah, I like that. The idea is that Rudolph is the bastard child of a love affair that Donner had
with a prostitute red-nosed
with a red-nosed
reindeer. Red light,
yeah.
Came from the red light district.
And
get the innuendo with the little red nose.
Uh-huh. Although
his mama was a red light too.
I should have shown the cartoon that I found where Rudolph is talking to the guy from the Operation game. It goes, "Daddy,
Daddy." Yeah, Rudolph. Dad.
But seriously, Rudolph, he because of the way his father was like, well, Santa comes in and says, "You should be ashamed," and it's like, well, what should Donner be ashamed of just because Rudolph is different? And that it wasn't
literally during the movie, the Santa Claus, little old, vitamin pill shaped head Santa Claus comes in with his giant head self and starts rrr, 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 at Donner. And literally says, "You should be ashamed for having such a fucked up little kid."
Yeah, and why would anybody say that to somebody unless Donner really should be ashamed because it's an illegitimate kid?
That's one way to look at it. It's a little more fun than what I just got.
And Rudolph,
I just got another epiphany about another way it could be.
Oh, okay, but Rudolph.
Darker.
Oh, do tell. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. I think that was Donner that had Rudolph. If Donner had a special needs child, a misfit child, a birth defected child that he was shamed for having. Translate that in human terms, humans are often shamed for having defective children to the point that they are encouraged to abort them or give them up at birth or let the hospital take them away so that they can die or whatever, because they're not perfect. There's tons of reports that many children were not medically unsound as their parents were led to believe. And this baby was taken away and used for nefarious means. This would propagate, tying it back to Rudolph, this would propagate the thought of we have to have perfect children, and if we don't, we should immediately get rid of them, which in our culture means you hand them over to the authorities, which is the hospital, the doctor, the morgue, or whatever, Planned Parenthood, or abort, or don't take the chance and abort, because fetuses are just as valuable as born children. In a medical sense, we're not even talking about spiritual. In a medical sense, their bodies are still medically valuable on the black market. Okay, I'm talking about black market value. So that's actually, it's reinforcing that give up your imperfect children, or you should be ashamed.
Yeah,
it's reinforcing that. Abort your kids, give up your imperfect kids, kill your kids, give us your imperfect kids. We have something planned for them.
And it's also something else in that movie to take that another step. They're constantly trying to hide Rudolph's light. Where are we told?
I like it. That's even better. Yes.
Hide your light. Don't be intuitive. Don't be seeing things. That's all hogwash. That's
hide your light. Don't be different. Don't be special. Hide your light.
And when he does, he talks like this, and he can't talk because his nose is not done.
Right. They want him to sound stupid.
Yeah.
They're showing you dumb yourself down. Make yourself lesser than, so that your light doesn't make other people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's the number one no-no. Never, never reduce yourself to make someone else comfortable. That's a big no-no. But this age-old story that has been going around for generations tells you don't be special at first. At first, it tells you, don't play it low, play it dumb, keep it on the DQ, keep it on the DL, until you can learn to be a badass to lord it over everybody else. And by the way, you won't do this by yourself. You have to wait till you're discovered by the kingpin of the industry. Gee, sounds like we're talking about Hollywood's and movie again. But he couldn't be anything until Santa Claus discovered him. And Santa Claus decided that he was valuable and worthy. In other words, Rudolph's self-esteem was not validated until someone else validated it for him. Another bullshit call. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell, guys, we don't like that story. Sorry.
My favorite character in that was the dentist.
The little dentist elf that wanted to be a dentist.
Yes.
I thought Clarice. Teeth. Yeah, ding, ding, ding. Clarice was cute too. The little girl that liked him anyway.
Yeah.
The little girl. She said, walk with me home.
And her father was like, you can't be with that abomination or whatever.
It reinforced the discrimination against somebody special. But she went out there to go find him with the feminine divine did show up. Remember, reveals have to happen for good people and nefarious people in the universe. Both sides have to reveal what they're going to do for good or for selfish reasons. So, yeah, the feminine, and no movie reveal is just for one side. All movies reveal both sides. And in that one, Clarice and her mother went out there and essentially rescued Rudolph the dentist and Cornelius, the bumbles that bounce Cornelius. They instigated they eventually had to be rescued too, but they instigated a search party to go find Rudolph. That's a feminine divine intervention. Surprise.
I like
Surprise. Yeah, surprise. But they turned it around where, they were trapped in a cave with the big bad Krampus / abominable snowman. And Rudolph had to rescue them back. Of course, you can't have women playing the dominant hero rescue warrior in these 1940s and 50s movies. Can't.
Well, the 60s,
that wasn't.
Yeah,
early 60s. Yeah, you can't. That wasn't fashionable yet.
No.
It is now, but it wasn't back then. So that was as much as the feminine divine homage as they were going to give. Yeah.
What else we got?
Let's see. We're going to see. We were talking about the Grinch. We went on to Red-Nosed Reindeer. There is a popular series called The Santa Claus, starring Tim Allen. And apparently you found blogs of people making diaries of the fucked up, effed up shit that happened in this movie. That's like, how dark and despicable is that?
Oh my God! Yes, this woman. She
go ahead.
She
and read
talks about it on Twitter, and if you want to look it up, well, this was from back in 2017, and actually, I can put it. I will put it in the comments. So if you want to, if anybody is interested in reading the whole thing themselves, because it's hysterical. I mean, she really goes on about it. Yeah. But she says that the Santa Claus trilogy is the most horrific Christmas film. And she said because it's all fun and frolics when the old Santa falls off the roof and then Calvin becomes the new Santa. But the creepiness begins early on because, first of all, the guy dies, the old Santa, roof Santa, dies on the scene quite slowly. And none of the elves at the North Pole...
And repeatedly. He dies more than once. They flash back on it several times.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
None of the elves at the North... Oh, well, true, yeah. Mm-hmm. None of the elves at the North Pole mourn the dead Santa. Bernard refers to him as the other Santa and shrugs it off. Mm-hmm. They cold-heartedly accept that roof Santa is gone and now they work with Scott. Even the elves disappear after hundreds and hundreds of years. Judy spent 1,200 years perfecting her cocoa recipe. But she's nowhere to be seen in Santa Claus 2.
2 or 3.
She's just casually replaced with another cocoa maker and never mentioned again. And consider Bernard. He's a huge part of 1 and 2, but in 3, he's just absent. Curtis is now elf number 1, and no one mentions Bernard. And she said, but this is far from the worst bit. Trust me, I've got so much more. Curtis and Bernard discovered the Mrs. Claus, which dictates Santa must be married. They'd never heard of this before, and the Council of Legendary Figures also knows nothing about it. Curtis says he's been working with Santa for 900 years, and this clause hasn't come to his attention before. The obvious and chilling implication of this is that all previous Santas were married at the point when they donned the suit and invoked the Santa Claus. Or they lasted less than a year before dying, invoking the escape clause. So where are the wives? Dear God, what happens to the wives? She says.
All those dead all the dead Santas that die in less than a year. Yeah. The wives, the single Santas, where are these bodies stacking up?
And they have children, some of them. And so she's saying, 60 Santas over the history of Christmas means that the average life expectancy for a Santa is just over 33 years. Some of them will have lived at the North Pole for much longer. Where are the babies? Where are the wives? There are potentially 60 women unaccounted for in this film series, and the elves never mention them. And she says, I think there's a clear hint, though, in Santa Claus 3. To quote Bud Newman on entering the elves' kitchen, how come the oven in the kitchen is bigger than in the delivery room? Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whole lot of gingerbread man cookies.
Yeah, and like
Human
I said,
shape.
also, grind them up and put them in the special cocoa recipes.
Grind your bones to make my gingerbread or cocoa. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and you used a good illustration of that. When Scott Calvin first goes into Santa's bedroom the first time he's there, there's no wife, there's no ladies' clothes, there's no nothing. However, one of the reveals I noticed is, why is there a 24/7, 365 Punch and Judy puppet set going in Santa's bedroom? You see it in Santa Claus, and you only see the bedroom in the first Santa Claus movie.
But it's going on every time he goes in there.
Every time he goes in there, the two characters are blah 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 blah. They're hand puppets, okay, behind a cardboard square. And when Scott Calvin starts to take his pants off to put on his pajamas, he's gotten used to the puppets behind him, and he's not looking at them. And he drops his pants, and they go bubble bubble, wah! And he pulls his pants back up because he realizes he just mooned them. All right, so they are aware of what's going on in the room. Why does a fully grown man have toys and Punch and Judy puppets? Yes, you see where I'm going now. In his bedroom all the time. We'll leave that one there.
Here
Here
you go. Here's your answer.
Thank you. Good transition.
Yes, Santa Claus, the kid's getting ready to go see Santa, and he's talking to his mom. The kid says, so I'm supposed to sit in this weird guy's lap because he promises to give me a toy, and you're okay with this?
Thank you.
And this one, the kid's in front of the Christmas tree, and they're listening to the iPod. And it's going,
he sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake.
And the kid says, Santa is a deep state surveillance operative.
For sure.
Yeah.
He is. Especially on children, which seems to be an ongoing theme even outside of the holidays. So, back to what we were talking about. Couple of other Santa Claus movies, 1, 2, and 3, I'll call them. Things that seemed really weird that were indicative of deep state and possibly reveals of what else is happening in the world that they have to tell you about before they do it to you. You notice that in Santa Claus 3, the parents are sedated to fly them out of country to Canada. And they are not told they're sedated. They are not told that they are not actually on any airplane. They're told that they're on an airplane. They're actually moved by sleigh, which is another word for transport, which can be a tunnel or a train or a truck. Let's go back to where we were in the movie. They were sedated and transported out of the country against their will, without their knowledge. And once they arrived, they were convinced that they were still on the mainland. They called it Canada. They were actually in the North Pole in the plot.
So Santa broke international laws and could get by with it because it's Santa.
He drugged people and kidnapped them out of the country. And that just happened to be adults in this example. It was Anne Margaret and Alan Arkin, I believe, were the actors. All right. In the Santa Claus 3, this also circulates back around to another theme. In Santa Claus 3, there is a Jack Frost character that eventually commercializes the North Pole and the image and the energy of Santa Claus and elves and sleds and reindeer into a theme park, an international theme park. Instead of him going out on Christmas and doing Christmas cheer, people can pay to come to be on the North Pole. And if you listen to the banter in the PA in the background, the action's going on, the dialogue is going on. Listen to what the PA is saying behind the characters. And most of the PA announcements are actually made by the guy who does Jack Frost, the comedian.
Martin Short.
Martin Short. Shave a reindeer, $5. Elf toss. Get your tickets while you can. Mud wrestling. On and on and on. Yeah. The last one they say, they stop the dialogue and you can hear Martin Short clearly say, shave a reindeer, $5. Get your tickets while you can. He says it very clearly. They stop the dialogue so you can hear it. And then they continue the dialogue. It's like, what? Little kids aren't going to know what that is, but adults will. And they play it off as, oh yeah, that's just a little, that's a little adult humor to entertain mom and dad. No, it's not. Kids hear it too.
What's the reference? Is it like a Brazilian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to tell them what a Brazilian is in case they don't know? You do this to me, I'm going to do it to you.
A Brazilian is a special wax that a woman can get,
or she gets, where they put wax on her nether regions and rip it off
and make her bald.
Make her bald, yes.
Like a child, perhaps.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That has become a thing.
Are you guys seeing a tie-in here?
We've gone from bikini waxes to taking away it all. I mean, it's
taking it all away.
Yeah, I mean,
and it gives the appearance of very childlike. Isn't that kind of creepy? I understand there are different preferences, but I'm talking about a pattern over time of what's being normalized as appropriately sexual or not sexual in the general populace. All right. Lots of good debate could happen over that stuff. So let's come back to where we were again. Let's come back out of that rabbit hole into this rabbit hole. Okay. Jack Frost commercializes the hell out of Christmas. They are showing you what they're going to do. Maintain the commercialism of Christmas. All right. They are doing, that's a reveal. That's not too surprising in that case. Now, some other stereotypes the norms, I should say, in our society that these movies reinforce and tell you what they're going to do and encourage you to go along with it. In the second movie, Scott Calvin, Santa Claus has to find a wife. We referred to that just a second ago. In order to do that, he has to mutate himself to be younger, color hair, and skinny again. He has to be thin again in order to be eligible to find handsome enough, good looking enough to attract and find a wife. Why? There are plenty of people that like a little extra padding and some snow on the roof of a silver fox for their lovers, especially if your Santa Claus is going to live 900 years. You definitely need someone who enjoys a healthy senior citizen. Okay.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make sense. You're baiting and switching. They baited and switched him. He had to mutate to a younger and thinner self, and he did. He used Santa Claus magic to do that. That's reinforcing a stereotype about what is attractive. It reinforces that stereotype. And what's interesting is the very split second that he gets married at the end of the movie, he kisses, she pronounced, the officiant pronounces them. Everybody goes, yay, and they kiss each other. And he leans in for a kiss. As soon as he leans back, his belly pops out and his hair all turns white and his face gets chunky and old. He instantly turns fat and older and fatter, like a traditional Santa Claus. Thank God the woman standing in front of him, his new wife, goes, "Oh, isn't that cute?" And thank God she finds it appealing because that's not what she just married.
Yeah.
But they're making another statement reinforcing, when you get married, go ahead and stop trying. Stop putting out the effort. You can be fat, gray, and slovenly, and it's socially acceptable. And it's okay for men to do that, but women still have to stay cosmetically beautiful. And she
Mhm.
does through the second movie and all the way through the third movie.
Oh,
She stays
man.
glamorous and beautiful the whole way. She never ages. The only time she gets fat is she's pregnant for a while, and she still looks beautiful, glowing, and sexy in those movies too, in those shots too. But she never gets old. She never gets old. So those are the main points. And well, tying back into something we were talking about just a minute ago, all of the movies refer to alternative timelines. All of them show alternative timelines, such as when Jack Frost takes over Christmas. My headset's falling off. Hang on a second. All right, there we go.
Yeah.
When Jack Frost, yep, too much cowbell. Hang on. Just let that one go. All right. When Jack Frost takes over Christmas and takes over Santa and turns the North Pole into a commercial theme park, that's an alternative timeline that he actually snatches the current Santa Claus and gets the magic coat right after they show a retake of the first Santa Claus falling off the roof, dying again, and slowly melting into the
Yeah, I
sand,
forgot
and nobody
about that.
talks about him ever again. Yeah, that's an alternative timeline. By the way, when they're going through the timeline, they go through a golden Kundalini spiral every time. That's how they characterized it in the film. I found that very telling as well. That's ancient knowledge. All kinds of belief systems can tell you about that, but it actually shows up in a modern movie to represent something very similar. Go check that out. That's in the Santa Claus 3. Okay. But all of them show alternative timelines of what Scott Calvin and Santa Claus was, and shall be. Again, time travel, jumping across dimensions. Maybe that's not as strange and unusual and make-believe as we're led to believe.
Well, he's
Or
got to
think.
do some time travel anyway if he gets around the world in one night.
The characters talk about that. They actually say, "Oh, it doesn't. Time travel differentials. It's not really, a problem in the time warp slip with the reindeers going a certain speed." Blah 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 blah. And Santa Claus goes, "Shh," and cuts him off. So, yeah, they actually talk about the science of it, and they actually mention words that make sense on how to do it. Another hint that is a reveal. It's a hint. It's just a hint. Remember, they're very subtle about this. All of these reveals are subtle. They're rarely overt, although they can be overt. What else you got, Iris? Any other?
Well, there was, let's see, there's a couple of movies where, for example, there was one called Surviving Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's got Ben Affleck and James Gandolfini, and Catherine O'Hara and Christina Applegate. And you've got Catherine O'Hara and James Gandolfini are a couple that are married, having an average life, but they're kind of just
not a warm
apart. Yeah.
Right. They're not warm and fuzzy.
Right. And then they have a son that's still in his teenage years that lives in the house, and they've got a daughter that lives on her own, and that's Christina Applegate. And honestly, I didn't go back to see how. I can't remember exactly, but Ben Affleck is this really rich guy, and he's engaged to this snobby, materialistic woman. And they were talking about going on a trip out of the country, and he backs out, and he's having issues with the relationship, and he just doesn't feel like anything's right. And he decides he wants to have the perfect Christmas.
Family Christmas.
And he somehow connects with the Gandolfini family, and he says, "I will pay you if you will have have me for Christmas and pretend to be my family.
Pretend to be Norman Rockwell.
Yes. And they're like, and he's going, we need more decorations. We need this. And, and he's buying the stuff and making sure they have the food. And, and it's like he's trying to achieve this perfection that keeps kind of blowing up in his face. And like Christina Applegate comes over and she's going, what the hell are you doing with this guy here? And he's paying, and he's giving us about $500,000 to do. Oh my God, And so, he like tells Christina, we're brother and sister now, so we need to go out and have a snowball fight. And she's like, I'm not doing that. And they end up going out, and they end up both catching the flu while they're out there. So it's kind of cute the way things happen, and they start to get to know each other. Well, in the meantime, his girlfriend finds out that he's with his parents having Christmas, and brings her parents over to visit, and everybody
and
else sees
too. Yeah,
they're like, oh my God, what are you doing with her? She's just a bitch. And and he starts seeing. So to me, the interesting thing is that effort to achieve the perfect Christmas that you just, you
have to have decorations and fancy food in order to do it.
Yes. And I can remember in my younger years, thinking that when I was on my own and married, and thinking I have to do things a certain way because that's the way I was raised. Not seeing how my mother tortured herself to make sure that things got done, and that we had to have Christmas decorations done a certain way, and we had to have, we always had these foods on the table, and you just didn't deviate, and told ourselves this is a wonderful, perfect Christmas because we're trying to live the Norman Rockwell life.
That's what she was sold. And that's what was passed on to you guys.
Yeah. But yet I don't know why Mom was sold it, because her parents would take her to Florida and to visit her grandparents who had moved down there. And
they missed the sales pitch, but the sales pitch did not miss your mother and your father.
And I think too, maybe Mom was trying to make up for that. Maybe she was like, I didn't have the Norman Rockwell Christmas, so I'm going to provide it to my family because that's the way we do things.
And your dad was a big retail man. He was a retail manager.
Retail man. He didn't have perfect Christmases because he was the youngest in his family, and his dad died when he was 6 years old.
All right, so that was heavily enforced on him too, because he was big in retail. The perfect Christmas comes with these accoutrements. Your sister makes a comment that I find helpful. As always.
Yes. What do you think of Hallmark, Lifetime, etc. Christmas movies that have cropped over the past 10 years? They are romance films that have a trite formula like a bodice ripping novel.
It is. It's milquetoast, sex romance novels.
Yeah.
It is. Watered down for television, and they are saccharine as hell.
Yeah, and sometimes the stories are nice.
And they are formulaic.
And they're sweet, and yeah. In fact, I saw another cartoon where it shows this couple snuggled up on the sofa, and it's like, John is really psychic. He knows how every Hallmark and Lifetime movie is going to end. And they're sweet, but the thing is, don't lose yourself in those films where you
train your values to be in alignment with
them. Or that you have regrets and resentments.
Mm-hmm.
Regrets, resentments, and rejections all keep you from moving forward.
Absolutely. Yes. Also, along with that, in human psychology, which way am I going here? All right. In human psychology, if you want a human to learn a behavior, repetition. Repetition is how you keep them do it until they eventually learn and adopt the behavior for themselves. Lifetime and harm.
Yeah, when those people get tied up and into that,
that's what cycle, they think relationships
they're just working harder, trying to make it happen and
mimic what they're seeing on the TV.
And that's
Yeah.
what you don't want to happen. Enjoy the stories. Enjoy all these movies that we've talked about. But don't get,
Brain trained.
yeah,
Don't get enslaved by it.
yeah,
Be
yeah,
unique. Be Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
yeah. And
Be the
just,
bastard.
right, right. And then, and just one quick one, Deck the Halls is Danny DeVito and Matthew Broderick, and they play two guys that live across the street from each other.
Again.
And they compete to have the best decorations, the best houses, sort of like the Mark Griswold, whatever Mark his first name was, and John.
It's Christmas Vacation is the name of that movie.
Yeah,
And National Lampoon's Christmas
Yeah,
Vacation.
but-
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase's character, you know how he has to have the big lights and outdo everything.
Yeah, the Griswolds.
Well,
yeah.
But the one on Deck the Halls with Matthew Broderick and Danny DeVito, they're having a competition across the street, and one gets lights up and the other one goes and does, you know. And
More lights. More lights. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like you don't. It's teaching that behavior of one-upping and being better, you know.
Those characters in that movie that you're describing actually lament to their wives, to themselves, to their friends about how their self-esteem has dropped so low because they're on the losing end of the competition at that point in the plot. And they go on explaining how awful they feel as humans because they're just not good enough. They're not giving their family the big electric Christmas that their family deserves. What?
Yeah.
As 25,000 light bulbs does not a perfect daddy make. But that's what those movies want you to believe. And those are excellent examples. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot about that one. There's one more that I found funny that's got a ton of reveals in it, but the main point I wanted to bring out before we roll in, because we're at 10 almost 10:40 right now. Everybody says that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. I say it is. It happens during a Christmas party. All right. And it goes on from there. Besides that, he's hot during those movies. All right. So Die Hard and Die Hard 2. One of the biggest reveals is okay, keep in mind, these movies were shot they were shot before, but they were aired in 1988. The first one, Die Hard. The second one, Die Hard 2, was aired in 1990. The first one, they overtake a major corporate building and shut down a whole major city to pull off a heist. And the second one, they overtake and shut down a major airport. These are all before 2001, before National Security, NSA was, or Homeland Security, or the Deep State Mind Control was formally executed for the general public. All right. Both of these movies showed you how easy, they actually show you step by step in the movie, how easy it is to overtake a whole city or a major airport by going through the luggage rack and messing with some of the wires and interfering with the radio signals coming out of the air traffic control tower, or messing with the police radios and the radio scanners in the first movie to overtake the whole power system of a major city. I think it was supposed to be Chicago or something like that the first movie was in. But it might have been like San Francisco or something.
No, I thought it was wasn't Los Angeles, was it?
Might have been LA.
Because it was like she lived on the West Coast, I think.
That's right. So it was it was a big California city.
Yeah.
All right. This was back in 88 and 1990, and they actually show you how a shutdown can happen because of one tiny group of people, less than 10 people.
They can do all that.
They could do all that back in 88 and 90. Yeah, by 2001, of course. Yeah. That was going to happen. So,
yeah,
those are all Christmas
stuff
movies.
To look at and interesting.
And there's a lot more, so check out those movies for yourself. and perhaps enjoy them with a more critical mind about what else are they trying to say here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next week we've got New Year's celebrations. Tame the beast. Spirits, dragons, horses, and demons are to be controlled. When given free reign, they can take over.
Woohoo!
And of course, spirits, dragons, horses, and demons are referring to. Anybody want to take a guess?
Alcohol
And drugs.
and drugs, chasing the dragon.
Yeah.
Spirits are alcohol, wild horses. Oh, yes.
The horse is the big H.
The big H.
Heroin.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a terminology I didn't know. Very cool. These are also symbology of Cabal and Deep State. The horses also become goats. The dragons are definitely the reptiles. On and on and on and on. But spirits, bringing on spirits. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that and talk about what these things mean and how that when you drink or take drugs, you're doing a lot more than
You're doing a lot more than just having a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So being aware.
We're going to help you be aware. We might even throw you some tips on how to manage that.
Yes.
Create yourself some safe space, and have some fun on New Year's Eve instead of freaking yourself out.
Yeah. We've enjoyed being here and hope y'all have gotten something out of the show. And I need to put the right one up.
No worries. Have a good Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Wrapping up the Hanukkah. Kwanzaa starts. We love you. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining The Eyes of Indigo with Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears. Music is Arcadia by Kevin MacLeod of Incomptech.com, licensed under Creative Commons. Visit our Facebook page for broadcast details, www.facebook.com/eyesofindigo. Show is copyrighted 2021 by Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears, all rights reserved.